The entire courtroom froze. It wasn't just silence. It was a heavy, breath-holding kind of stillness. Like the air itself refused to move. Phones lowered, eyes widened, mouths stayed shut. No one had seen anything like this before. Not here. Not in this courthouse. Chelsea McBride walked down the aisle like it was a runway. Her heels clicked on the polished floor, echoing louder with every step. She didn't blink, didn't pause, didn't care. She wore a plain white shirt. But what was written on it, that's what made people gasp. F***CK Black People. Bold black letters, uncensored, centered across her chest like a statement or a dare. A black woman in the front row covered her mouth. A white prosecutor looked like he wanted to disappear. Even the bailiff, a tall black man with a jaw like stone, flinched. His hand twitched near his belt, like instinct was louder than protocol. Chelsea smirked, like this was a game to her, like she wanted a reaction. She got one. At the bench, Judge Malcolm Graves leaned forward slowly. He didn't shout, didn't raise an eyebrow. He just took a breath, removed his glasses, and looked at her. His stare was so cold it burned. Chelsea smiled wider, like she'd just won something. He finally spoke. "Miss McBride," he said, voice calm and heavy, approached the bench. People shifted, whispered, held their breath. Chelsea walked forward, her chin up. Her blonde hair bounced lightly with each step, like she was proud. Like this was all one big performance. She stopped in front of him and tilted her head. "Yes, Your Honor." He didn't look away. "You're wearing a shirt that says, and I quote, *CK Black People.' Is that correct?" She shrugged. "Freedom of speech. It's America, right?" The judge blinked once. "Bailiff," he said quietly, "lock the doors." The sound echoed like a gunshot. Click, metal on metal. The entire courtroom twisted with tension. No one moved. Chelsea blinked. Her smirk flickered. Just for a second. Judge Graves placed his glasses down, folded his hands. "You think this is a joke," he said. "You think you're untouchable. You think your last name, your father's badge, your family tree will protect you here." He leaned in slightly, eyes never leaving hers. "But in this room, I am the law, and you just made a statement in my courtroom." Chelsea's confidence started to crack. She looked around like she just realized she wasn't the one holding the power anymore. "You were going to walk out today," he said. "Probation, maybe some classes. Nothing major." He paused. "Not anymore?" Chelsea stepped back slightly. "Wait, what?" The judge didn't flinch. "I've seen arrogance. I've seen privilege. But I've never seen someone weaponize racism as boldly and proudly as you just did." He raised his hand slightly. "You will not walk out the same way you came in. That, I promise you." Chelsea opened her mouth. "You can't." He cut her off. "I just did." Gasps filled the room. And in that moment, Chelsea McBride's world flipped. The judge sat back, cold, controlled. "Miss McBride," he said, "you're now sentenced to 90 days in county jail, starting today." Chelsea stood frozen. "I didn't even have a trial yet," she shouted. The judge nodded toward the bailiff. "Escort her out." Chelsea turned to her lawyer. "Do something." But the man looked down. Powerless. The bailiff stepped forward. Chelsea stumbled back. "Wait, this isn't fair. This is illegal. You can't jail me over a shirt." The judge didn't answer, because justice had already been served. And for once in a system built to protect people like her, Chelsea had finally run out of immunity. 2 weeks earlier, Chelsea McBride was laughing. She sat on the hood of her silver BMW, blowing smoke into the sky like life owed her nothing but ease. Her phone buzzed with group texts from her friends, half of them inside jokes, the other half videos from last night's bar fight. "Tell me again how you didn't get arrested for that," Trevor asked, barely looking up from his phone. Chelsea grinned. "Because, baby, I'm a McBride." He chuckled. "Right. And McBrides don't get arrested." She took another drag. Even if we do, it's nothing. My dad makes a call, the charges vanish, and boom, I'm back in time for bottomless mimosas. She wasn't wrong. Her father, retired Chief McBride, had kept her out of trouble more times than she could count. Drunk driving? Gone. Shoplifting? Erased. Last year's campus fight? Buried. Chelsea had grown up hearing words like power, reputation, and control. She wore them like perfume. Strong, invisible, lingering. Until that night at the gas station. She had been drunk. Sloppy drunk. The kind of drunk that makes you bold and mean. Denise Johnson, a quiet black woman, had just finished filling her tank. She looked up, barely a glance, before walking toward the entrance. Chelsea saw the look, or at least that's what she convinced herself it was. "What the hell are you staring at?" she slurred. Denise kept walking, didn't respond. Chelsea stepped forward. "Hey, you deaf or something?" Denise finally turned, calmly. "Is there a problem?" Chelsea sneered. "Yeah, your face." Then she spit on the ground, just inches from Denise's feet. Denise took a breath. "Walk away." Chelsea laughed, loud. "Or what?" Denise didn't back down. "You don't want to find out." And in that moment, Chelsea snapped. She shoved Denise hard, sending her stumbling into the side of the pump. Then came the punch. Wild, sloppy, loud. Denise barely blocked it. Security cameras caught everything. The gas station attendant had already called the police by the time the scuffle ended. Denise had blood on her lip. Chelsea had scratches on her arm. But she was still laughing. "This'll be nothing," she said, smirking as the cops pulled up. Then came the moment that changed everything. One of the officers pulled Denise aside. Ma'am," he said, "are you related to Mrs. Johnson at the DA's office?" Denise nodded. Chelsea watched their body language shift. "What the hell are you doing?" she barked at the cops. "Ma'am, you're under arrest." Chelsea blinked. "What?" "You're being charged with assault." She laughed. "You can't be serious. She's the one who—" "You punched her on camera," the officer said. "Let's go." In the back of the squad car, Chelsea scoffed the whole way to the station. She texted Trevor. "They're arresting me, LOL. This is so dumb." He replied a few minutes later. "I'll let your dad know." But even then, she wasn't scared. She sat in holding with her legs crossed, tapping through Instagram like nothing mattered. Later that week, she showed up to her arraignment in flip-flops and a tank top. No makeup, no shame. She smirked at the other defendants. She even took a selfie outside the courtroom. First court date vibes. Then she saw the docket. Her smirk dropped. Judge, Malcolm Graves. She whispered it to herself again. Malcolm Graves. "Who's that?" Trevor asked. Her voice was dry. "A black judge, known for going hard on privileged people. Doesn't take disrespect in his courtroom." Trevor raised an eyebrow. "You scared?" Chelsea scoffed. "Please. What's he gonna do? Glare at me?" But that night she couldn't sleep. She Googled his name, read about past cases, watched clips. His reputation wasn't just hype. He was sharp, calm, brutal with words, called out systemic injustice in court, slammed white privilege, gave max sentences for hate crimes. Her stomach twisted. She had never worried before. Until now. The morning of the hearing, Chelsea stood in front of her mirror and laughed. The shirt was her idea. A joke, really. A statement. Something bold. Something viral. A tight white tee with black block letters. F*CK black people. Trevor had glanced at it and barely reacted. "You're really gonna wear that?" She smirked. "Freedom of speech, babe." He shrugged. "Just don't cry when it backfires." She leaned in, kissed his cheek. "It won't." By the time she stepped out of her car and strutted toward the courthouse, phones were already recording. A few gasps, a few murmurs. One woman outright cursed under her breath. Chelsea didn't blink. She walked in like she owned the place. The guards hesitated, looked at each other. One started to speak, but Chelsea shot him a look. That arrogant, spoiled girl look. The kind that screamed, "You touch me, you lose your job." She walked past them and took her seat in the courtroom, head held high, legs crossed, arms loose, relaxed, untouchable. Then the judge walked in. All rise. Everyone stood. Judge Malcolm Graves didn't say a word at first. He took his seat, adjusted his robe, scanned the room. Then his eyes landed on her. He paused. For just a second, then continued. Miss McBride approached the bench. She stood up slowly like she was walking toward an award show. Every step carried a message. I dare you. She stopped in front of him, that same smirk on her face. Is there a problem, Your Honor? He stared at her for a long moment, then spoke softly. Tell me what your shirt says. She shrugged. It's a shirt. What does it say? She smiled wider. Freedom of speech, right? He didn't move. He didn't blink. He just leaned forward slightly. Bailiff, lock the doors. Click, gasps. The room changed. The atmosphere dropped 10 degrees. Miss McBride, he said, voice like steel under calm. I've been a judge for 15 years. I've seen murderers, thieves, liars. I've seen evil. But what you just brought into my courtroom, he paused. That's a different kind of poison. She started to speak. It's just, no, he cut her off. It's not just a shirt. It's a declaration of hate, of arrogance, of privilege. He folded his hands. Do you think you're special? I think I'm honest, she snapped. The judge didn't react. You were about to walk out of this courtroom with probation. Maybe a warning. You were going to go home, post a TikTok, and laugh about how you own the system. She shifted. The smile was gone now. But you walked in here, looked every black face in this room in the eye and spat in it. She opened her mouth again. You're overreacting. No, he said sharply. I'm finally reacting. He turned to the clerk. State the charges. The clerk, a young black woman, stood. 1 count of assault, 1 count of public intoxication, 1 count of disorderly conduct. And the original recommendation? Probation, with mandatory anger management. He turned back to Chelsea. I was willing to go easy on you, he said, until you turned my courtroom into your playground. His voice lowered. You won't walk out of here the same way. I want a lawyer, she snapped. You had one, he replied. I want to appeal. Denied. Gasps again. People in the back were pulling out their phones. This was history. Miss McBride, he said, standing, you are hereby sentenced to 90 days in county jail, effective immediately. She froze. You're not serious. I am. You can't. I just did. The bailiff stepped forward. Chelsea turned to her lawyer, who now looked pale. Do something. He didn't move. The bailiff grabbed her arm. No, get off me. But no one helped her. Not Trevor. Not her lawyer. Not her friends in the gallery. As she was dragged toward the side door, she screamed back at the judge. You'll regret this. He didn't flinch. No, Miss McBride, he said coldly. You will. The ride to county jail was quiet. Chelsea sat in the back of the van, her wrists cuffed, her knees bouncing. Her phone was gone. Her freedom was gone. But her arrogance? Still holding on. This is temporary, she mumbled under her breath. I'll be out by the weekend. The female officer driving didn't say a word. When the van pulled into the jail lot, reality hit her in waves. Gray walls, fenced gates, guards with cold expressions. There was no welcome mat here, just metal, rules, and the slow death of ego. She was led inside, still wearing the same shirt. That shirt. The booking process began immediately. Name? Chelsea McBride. Date of birth? She rolled her eyes. Check the system. Fingerprints. Mugshot. Then came the moment she hadn't anticipated. Remove all clothing, the female officer said flatly. Chelsea blinked. What? Strip, now. I have rights. The guard didn't flinch. You're not in a courtroom anymore, sweetheart. She hesitated, then slowly peeled off her clothes piece by piece under the fluorescent lights. The strip search was mechanical. Cold hands, cold words. She felt smaller than she ever had. Then came the orange jumpsuit. I'm not wearing that. The officer smirked. Then stay naked. Chelsea snatched it and turned away, her face burning red. Once dressed, she was marched through the corridors. Metal doors clanged. Inmates shouted. A few stared. A few smirked. She tried to look unbothered, like she still had control. Until she didn't. The guard led her to a holding cell. Welcome to your new home, he said, unlocking the door. She stepped inside, expecting silence. What she got was eye contact. 3 women were already in there. One was tall and heavily tattooed, lounging on a top bunk. Another, shorter with a scar over her brow, sat at the table eating chips like nothing mattered. And then there was the third, a black woman with sharp eyes and braided hair. Chelsea's stomach twisted. Denise Johnson, the woman she'd assaulted at the gas station. Denise leaned back, folded her arms, and let out a slow, mocking smile. Well, 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 she said. Look who just checked in. Chelsea took a step back. You've got to be kidding me. Denise tilted her head. Oh, this just got good. Chelsea turned to the guard. You can't leave me in here. That's the woman I'm... The guard cut her off. She's not on restriction. You are. And then the door slammed shut behind her. Chelsea stood frozen. Denise stood up and took 2 slow steps forward. You don't remember me, huh? She asked, voice smooth but sharp. I know who you are, Chelsea muttered. Good, Denise said, smiling, because I remember everything. Chelsea backed into the wall, trying to appear strong. Stay away from me, Denise laughed. Relax, Barbie. I'm not gonna jump you on day 1. The scarred girl at the table snorted. You sure about that, D? Denise held up a hand. Not yet. Chelsea sat on the edge of the bottom bunk, gripping the edge like it would keep her grounded. This wasn't punishment anymore. It was survival. She kept her head down for the next hour. Listening, watching, trying to breathe through the panic building inside her chest. Every whisper, every laugh felt like it was aimed at her. Eventually, Denise sat back down and stretched out. I gotta say, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. This is poetic. Chelsea didn't respond. Denise continued. You walk around like nothing touches you. Then you swing on me, call me names, act like you run the world. She paused. And now we get to share a room for 90 days. Chelsea finally looked up. What do you want from me? Denise smiled. Nothing. Yet. Tattooed girl laughed again. She's gonna learn real quick. Denise stared at Chelsea. I'm not here to fight you. Not yet. But don't think you're untouchable anymore. Chelsea clenched her jaw. I'm not scared of you. Denise leaned forward. That's cute. Then she stood, stretched, and headed toward the bathroom. Before she disappeared, she turned back. 90 days, sweetheart, she said, and we just got started. Chelsea sat still, fists clenched. The cold walls around her weren't just concrete anymore. They were Denise's world now, and she had just entered it. 2 days passed. 2 days of silence, of stares, of waiting. Chelsea kept telling herself she'd be out soon, that her father would fix it. He always did. They finally gave her a phone call. She nearly ran to the booth, snatching the receiver like it was oxygen. She dialed fast. 1 ring, 2, then, hello? Dad, she breathed, her voice breaking. You have to get me out of here. There was a pause. Then his voice, heavy, different. Chelsea, she swallowed. They put me in with her. That woman, Denise. She's in my cell, Dad. You need to call someone. I can't stay here. He didn't answer. Dad, another pause, then he exhaled. I can't help you this time. The world stopped. What? I tried. I pulled every string, called Rob, reached out to the department. But this judge, Graves, he's different. He doesn't budge. Chelsea felt her stomach drop. No, you don't understand. I don't belong here. I'm sorry, baby. I really am. But this time, You're going to have to write it out. Tears welled in her eyes. Her voice cracked. You always fix things. You always? Not this time. Then came the click. The line went dead. Chelsea stood frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear. The guard tapped the glass. Time's up. She didn't move. She couldn't breathe. Back in the cell, she didn't speak, didn't look at anyone, just curled up on her bunk, fists clenched, her world shrinking. Later that evening, a guard appeared at the door. McBride, you got a visitor. Her heart skipped. Maybe her dad changed his mind. Maybe he was here now, ready to take her home. But it wasn't her father. It was Trevor. She walked into the visitation room and froze. He looked rough. Dark circles, messy hair, cheap hoodie. He gave her a weak smile as he sat down. Damn, Shell, you look okay, actually. She didn't sit. What are you doing here? He gestured to the seat. Sit down. I brought something. She hesitated, then sat. I thought you were ghosting me, she said. Trevor leaned in. Look, I've been talking to some people. There's a way to make this easier. Chelsea narrowed her eyes. What people? He lowered his voice. The Aryans, Brotherhood. They've got reach inside, influence. They can protect you, keep you safe, even speed up your release. She stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You want me to join a gang? They're not just a gang, he said. They run the system in here. You join them, you get your power back. And what do they want in return? Trevor leaned back. Loyalty. Small things. You won't be alone. She shook her head. This is insane. Is it? He said. Because right now, you're alone. No lawyer, no daddy, no way out. She clenched her fists. And what about you? She asked. Where were you when I got dragged out of that courtroom? He looked away. I didn't know it would get that bad. She stood. Maybe you should leave. Trevor sighed. Just think about it. Back in her cell, Denise was waiting. Was that your boyfriend? She asked casually. Chelsea didn't answer. Denise smirked. Let me guess. He's got friends. Chelsea looked up slowly. You know about them? The Aryans? Denise said. Everyone does. They like their girls blonde and angry. You'd fit right in. I didn't say yes. Denise sat forward. Her voice turned hard. They don't protect you for free. Chelsea stayed silent. You join them, Denise said, and you're not Chelsea anymore. You're property. I can handle myself. Denise stared at her. That's what the last girl said. I hope you don't end up like her. Chelsea turned away. She didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to be warned. But the truth was already inside her. She had no father now. No protection. Just a choice. Trevor's deal. Or Denise's warning. Either way, the price would be blood. The decision didn't come in a grand moment. It came in the middle of a sleepless night, with cold concrete under her back and whispers crawling through the dark. Chelsea said yes. Yes to Trevor. Yes to the Aryans. Yes to survival, no matter the price. By morning, they had already moved her. New bunk, new block, new eyes watching her, like inventory. One of the guards slipped her a note. You'll be leaving tonight. Get ready. Chelsea's stomach flipped. Leaving? That night after dinner, she was pulled aside. You're being transferred for a temporary work program, one of the guards said. No one explained what kind. She was loaded into a transport van, her wrists in cuffs, heart racing. She tried to act calm, controlled. But this wasn't protection. This felt like a setup. After an hour of silent driving through back roads and shadows, the van stopped in front of a rundown auto shop on the edge of a forgotten town. A man stood outside, smoking. Chelsea stepped out, and the guard nodded to her. 5 minutes. She walked up slowly. The man looked her over. Mid-40 ass, tattoos on his neck, greasy hands, eyes full of warning. You're the message? He said, smirking. Chelsea didn't blink. I'm here on behalf of the Aryans. The man's face darkened. They don't own me. Chelsea took a step closer. They say you've been stepping out of line. This is your one and only warning." The man dropped his cigarette and crushed it under his boot. "They sent a little girl in a jumpsuit to scare me?" Chelsea's voice didn't shake. "This isn't about scaring you. It's about survival. The next person won't talk." He stared at her for a long second. Then, finally, he nodded. "Tell them I got the message. Loud and clear." Chelsea turned around and walked back to the van, her hands still clenched. Inside, she kept replaying it. The way he looked at her. The way it all felt. That wasn't power. That was something else. That was debt. By the time she was brought back to jail, dawn was breaking. Her eyes were burning, and her head pounded. She wanted to shower, sleep, breathe. But the first thing she saw was Denise, sitting on the edge of the bed, arms crossed, watching. "Where'd they send you?" she asked, voice flat. Chelsea didn't answer. Denise stood up. "What'd you do?" Chelsea looked away. "It's none of your business." Denise laughed, cold and bitter. "Oh, it's exactly my business." Chelsea turned to her, voice sharp. "I did what I had to do. And now they own you. No one owns me." Denise stepped closer. "You sure about that?" Chelsea held her ground. "I made a choice, one you warned me not to make. But I survived. That's what matters." Denise's eyes narrowed. "Survival isn't free." Chelsea's jaw clenched. "You think they're done with you? That this was it?" "Nah, this was the test run." Denise paused, voice low. "They will keep using you. They'll dress it up like loyalty, like protection. But every time you say yes, you lose something you can't get back." Chelsea said nothing. Denise leaned in closer. "You thought this was a shortcut to freedom. But you didn't find a way out. You just found a deeper cage." Chelsea's throat tightened. The words hit harder than she wanted to admit. Denise stepped back and sat down, still staring. "You think you're climbing the ladder. But baby, they're building it under your feet. And the higher you go, the harder the fall." Chelsea turned toward the wall, her back to Denise. But the words didn't go away. She could still feel the man's stare at that auto shop. She could still taste the fear. She wasn't free. She was leased. Chelsea walked into the day room with her head up, but everything inside her was shaking. She knew something was coming. The looks, the stares, the silence that followed her steps. It wasn't paranoia. It was preparation. She passed the lunch table slowly, eyes scanning every corner. No one spoke to her, not even her own people. The Aryans had gone quiet since her return. No nods, no backup, just silence. That's how she knew. She was on her own. She reached the back table, the only open spot, and sat down, tried to breathe. Then the tray slammed. A loud metal clatter right in front of her. Chelsea didn't flinch. She looked up. The same shaved-head woman from before stood over her. Behind her, the tattooed girl, and two more faces Chelsea didn't recognize. Both bigger, both smirking. "Well, well," the woman said. "Little Barbie got brave." Chelsea stayed still. "What do you want?" The woman leaned in. "To remind you, you don't run this place." Tattooed girl cracked her knuckles. "Not even close." Chelsea glanced around. The guards weren't moving. They never did unless blood hit the floor. She stood slowly. "I'm not looking for a fight." The woman smirked. "Good, because this ain't gonna be one. This is gonna be an example." The first swing came fast. Chelsea blocked it, barely. She stumbled back, knocking her tray over. Shouts echoed. The other two moved in. She backed up, heart pounding, fists clenched, but she knew it wasn't enough. Then the voice cut through everything. "She's with me." The room froze. The attackers turned. Denise stood across the room, arms crossed, eyes sharp. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. The woman sneered. "Since when?" "Since now," Denise said, stepping forward. A quiet moment passed. Then the woman laughed and shook her head. "Your funeral." She backed off, slowly. So did the others. Denise didn't look at Chelsea, just sat down at the nearest table, picked up her spoon, and started eating like nothing happened. Chelsea stood in shock, breathing hard, skin buzzing. She didn't understand, but she knew what came next. Later that night, back in their cell, Chelsea sat on her bunk, arms crossed, jaw tight. Denise lay on the top bunk, eyes closed like she didn't care. "You didn't have to do that," Chelsea said. Denise didn't move. "I know." "Then why did you?" Silence. Then, "Because I'm not ready to see you get torn apart." "Not yet." Chelsea looked up. "So what? Now I'm your pet project?" Denise opened one eye. "No, Barbie. Now you owe me." Chelsea flinched. There it was. Not kindness. Debt. "Don't expect me to roll over just because you scared a few girls," Chelsea snapped. Denise laughed. "You still think you have a say?" Chelsea stood up. "I didn't ask for your help. And I didn't ask to share a cell with a racist who thinks loyalty comes in the form of tattoos and bad decisions." Chelsea froze. The words sliced deeper than any fist ever had. Denise sat up. "You walk around like you're surviving, but all you've done is change cages. You don't know me." "I know enough," Denise said. "You thought joining them made you strong, that you'd get your power back. But they never gave you power. They gave you tasks. They gave you orders. That's not power. That's slavery with ink." Chelsea stepped back. "You think you're better than me?" "No," Denise said softly. "I think I'm free. You're just rented." The room went quiet. Chelsea sat down slowly, her hands shaking. She had made it through fights, through isolation, through fear. But this was different. She couldn't argue it. She couldn't deny it. Because deep down, she knew it was true. She didn't own anything in here. Not her bunk, not her name, not even her choices. She was a pawn, pulled between power plays she never understood. She thought she was taking control when she joined the Brotherhood. But now, she was just waiting for the next order, for the next message to deliver, the next test. And when the day finally came that she wanted out, she knew they'd never let her. Denise climbed down and sat beside her. "You think this place broke you?" she said. "But it didn't." Chelsea didn't respond. Denise continued. "It showed you who you really are." Chelsea stared ahead. "What am I?" Denise stood. "Someone who still thinks they can walk out of here and go back to the old life." She walked to the bars. "But you won't." Chelsea sat in silence long after Denise climbed back into her bunk, because she finally understood. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't a punishment. It was a transformation. The girl who walked in wearing a racist shirt had died somewhere along the way. What remained? Even she didn't recognize it anymore.